It's not real hard to upset the left. It's actually fairly easy. Anyone who goes through normal life knows that. And Trump has a way to get their heads to absolutely explode. So last night, he grabs his phone, as he normally does, seems to be the way he gets himself to go to sleep at night, and he sends a series of messages out. Except this time, he puts a few people on notice. And they take notice. And they're not real happy about it. All part of this ominous turn he's taking. The Mad King is the new storyline they're going with now. And beware of that storyline. It's rather dangerous. I'm going to give you the details of exactly who he called out, what he intends on doing about it, and why, in many ways, he's right to do so. And that's the story I'll bring you in just 1 minute. Starts here, tying into a much bigger story. Why is it that ABC and NBC fake news, two of the absolute worst and most biased networks anywhere in the world, aren't paying millions of dollars a year in license fees? Which, mind you, they don't. Their affiliates pay the licensing fees, not the main networks. Either does Fox News, to be fair. They should lose their licenses for their unfair coverage of Republicans and or conservatives. Now take that statement for a moment. Is that true? Because there's a fairness when there is a political campaign, of which the left and right should receive equal airtime. Trump has contested that they haven't received equal coverage, and we've seen many lawsuits come out of this, haven't we? That's what he's referring to, but at a minimum, they should pay up big for having the privilege of using the most valuable airwaves anywhere at any time. Crooked journalism should not be rewarded. It should be terminated. And that got a reaction. Could you imagine the reaction that that statement got? And I could partially understand why, if there was no basis of fact to his statement. But that wasn't all he stated. He went on. Despite a very high popularity, and according to many, among the greatest 8 months in presidential history, you know, Trump has a way of patting himself on the back. You'd expect nothing else. ABC and NBC fake news, two of the worst and most biased networks in history, gave me 97% bad stories, which they always have and they always will. If that is the case, they are simply an arm of the Democratic Party and should, according to many, have their licenses revoked by the FCC. Now, that could be a hotly contested statement. And of course, set the left on fire. Heads exploded. And the reactions I'm going to show you. Now, before I do, I want to thank you all again and want to ask you a favor. Make sure you're still subscribed. You are helping us to turn the algorithm around completely. The channel has made a complete 180, and that is because of you checking to make sure you're subscribed, turning your bells to all, putting comments below, sharing the video, supporting his members, supporting his super thanks. That is everything that makes sure that YouTube knows you care about this channel, and because of that, they've allowed the channel to grow, and that is 100% because of you, and I cannot thank you enough for that. Also, I cannot thank you and Noble Gold enough, because it's people like Noble Gold who help keep these lights and cameras on. Have you been to JustusKnightGold.com yet? If you haven't, I want you there today, because Noble Gold Investments makes it simple. Gold or silver, coins or bars, shipped to your door or stored securely. One of our longest standing sponsors. They're trusted for transparency, no pressure guidance, and real options. If you click in the description box below for more details, or you visit JustusKnightGold.com, you're going to get a free wealth protection kit today. And remember, there's always a risk to investing and no guarantees, but when you own real assets, you own real wealth, and there's no better company to do that with than Noble Gold Investments. So I want you to go to JustusKnightGold.com right now. But now let's get back to this broadcast, because we have a lot to discuss, don't we? I would be totally in favor of that, because they are so biased and untruthful and actually an actual threat to our democracy. MAGA. Now, he said he'd be in favor of it, but he didn't say he would do it. So, they are contesting that he is violating their right to free speech. by them violating his right to free speech for being able to say it. I'm serious, that's specifically what they did, because they stated this is what dictators sound like. Because, Trump was never right about anything, right? ABC agrees to give $15 million to Trump's presidential library to settle a lawsuit. Because how come? Because George Stephanopoulos' inaccurate on-air assertion the president-elect had been found civilly liable for raping writer E. Jean Carroll, because they never have been partial to one side or the other. Well, until Trump started winning lawsuits, so I guess he has some right to be upset here, or his lawsuit against Paramount, which agrees to pay $16 million to settle his lawsuit over the 60 Minutes Kamala Harris interview. But again, they're not impartial, so he has no right to free speech. He has no right to say anything. He's the one intruding on free speech. He's the one who sounds like a dictator, according to HuffPost. But here was some of the reactions, because this is what dictators sound like, or this doesn't feel very free speechy. Told you. The Mobster President by Aaron Rupar, we'd expect no other comment but that. This is what an insane person sounds like. The Mad King comment starts. And this storyline is what they're going to start chasing after now. They will start to have you and start to portray Trump as the Mad King, making decisions, because they will start convoluting revenge and justice. Revenge and justice, two words I want you not to ever confuse. Because what Trump, the FBI, and the DOJ is now pursuing is justice, not revenge. And this is the bigger story that we're going to move into before we get through all these comments. The First Amendment is really hurting his feelings tonight, but he has no right to the First Amendment. Sounds like the old man wants even more money from the media companies, or he's getting worse. It hasn't even been a year. You see the Mad King storyline coming through. I've been watching it brew up from behind, and lo and behold, Wall Street Journal flags Donald Trump risk turns out to be worse than we imagined. Now, what story did this come from? Trump's vendetta campaign targets John Bolton. The FBI raid makes clear that the second-term success for the president includes retribution, aka revenge, but it's increasingly clear, according to the Wall Street Journal, that vengeance is a large part, maybe the largest part, of how he will define success in his second term. Now, remembering that he ran on a campaign of bringing justice to the lawless, to providing sanity back to an insane government, and now that he's doing it, it's suddenly vengeance, a vendetta, and revenge. But I digress. His revenge campaign took an ominous turn Friday as FBI agents raided the home and office of Mr. Trump's first-term national security advisor, John Bolton. His revenge campaign took an ominous turn. It's hard to see the raid as anything other than vindictive, according to the Wall Street Journal. But it is increasingly clear that this vengeance is a large part, maybe the largest part, of how he will define his success in his second term. That revenge campaign taking an ominous turn, and hard to see the raid as anything other than vindictive. Okay. But did we all forget why that raid occurred? This wasn't anything new. It was just a reopened investigation. Kash Patel's FBI raids John Bolton's home, office, and probe over sending classified documents to his family. Investigators reopened a dormant probe into Bolton's alleged use of a private email, sound familiar, to send classified national security documents to his wife and daughter from his work before his dismissal by Trump in September of 2019. So we don't have the right to investigate. So every case we reopen that just simply disappeared can't be reopened because that is revenge. That's vengeance, not justice being served to those that propagated injustice on we the people by violating the laws of this great republic of the United States of America. No, We won't allow that storyline to be propagated. So let's move forward a little further. Because Trump went on. Because if you were to believe he's only attacking the left, you'd be wrong. But they don't cover this portion of it, do they? I have a constitutional right to appoint judges and U.S. attorneys, but that right has been completely taken away from me in the states that have just one Democrat United States Senator. This is because of an old and outdated custom known as blue slip that Senator Chuck Grassley of the great state of Iowa refuses to overturn. You see, that's not someone from the left now, is it? But they won't cover that because they just want you to make you think that Trump's only attacking the left out of a series of revenge and vengeance, a retribution campaign taking an ominous turn. The Mad King is uncontrolled. No, he's an equal opportunity offender. It's clear as day. But they didn't cover these posts, they just covered the two prior and the one after this. They skipped the one that was in the middle because it didn't serve their storyline. Interesting how they do that, huh? I just watched sloppy Chris Christie be interviewed on a ratings challenge news show this week with George Slopadopoulos, or it's pretty darn good actually, on ABC Fake News. By the way, what the hell happened to Jonathan Karl's hair? He looks absolutely terrible. But I digress. Chris refused to take responsibility for the criminal acts of the closure of the George Washington Bridge for the sake of justice. Perhaps we should start looking at that very serious situation again. No one is above the law, and many scream now that Chris Christie is the next in line after John Bolton to be investigated. And they call this vengeance and retribution. One fair, partisan, one-sided attack. Again, skipping the message between these, because the Mad King was at a one-sided rant. You see how the storyline is now brewing up? Because this is how they intend now on attacking Trump, and it was as clear as day to see. Because they're going to start mixing two words. On a news day that's generally quiet, Sundays could be fairly quiet. But what happens on Sunday nights is one of my favorite nights in journalism, because they always show their hand on Sunday night as to what the attack for the next week will be. Because they have time to sit down and think, everything we've been working on hasn't been working really well. All these attacks and manipulations just aren't resonating with the American public. Our ratings continue to decline. We're not able to defuse this man who's bringing so much to the country, so much progress, and people are, man, they love him. So what could we do possibly to defuse him next? Because we don't want to cover news. We don't want to have real journalism. So we have to find another way to attack. And hence why Trump is so upset with him. Because journalism is long lost. Nobody actually digs through and looks between the lines like we do here to bring you what's happening in these headlines. To me, it's clear as day. It only takes 3 or 4 to see what the real story is. And I hope I illustrated that to you, what they're doing. Trump reveals next high-profile target for the sake of justice after raid of former UN Ambassador John Bolton's home. Daily Mail is doing the same thing that HuffPost and Wall Street Journal just did, all over the course of a weekend. Some could almost think that's coordinated, almost if they're all shifting the storyline at the same time and to see if maybe this will work this week. And if you think there's any semblance of normalcy within this, because they were talking about Chris Christie and John Bolton's raid, and if there was any normalcy to that, you would stay on those two storylines. In no way could you commingle possibly anywhere in this story the Epstein saga, right? You'd be wrong. Because this isn't normalcy. Somehow the Daily Mail in this article found a way, while talking about Trump's attack on Chris Christie, his revenge campaign on Chris Christie and John Bolton, a way to tie Epstein back into it. As unbelievable as that would be. I think it's kind of funny to hear a president talk the way he does about Bolton and classified information, yet he had classified information. The same rules didn't apply, Chris Christie said. The ex-New Jersey governor was also refusing to believe anything from the Ghislaine Maxwell deposition, though he said it was unlikely Trump had done anything wrong involving her ex-boyfriend, the late billionaire pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. That's journalism nowadays, my friends. To me, journalism has always been more of a mental game. A game I enjoy digging into and uncovering for you so you can stay ahead of the headlines. Because right now, the next attack will be confusing the words justice with revenge. Because justice does not equal revenge, my friends. But that is what they are now going to try to convince the American public. So as one by one they go down, the Beltway Bandits, rather than saying they're guilty, they'll simply state, this is Trump's vengeance campaign. These poor people. Look at the attacks they're coming under because of Trump's desire for revenge. But let's forget the years and years and years of their attacks against President Trump and ultimately against we the people. But here, we won't let anyone forget it. And I will always dig deep into their headlines and show you how consistent they maneuver. And it is clear as day to me, and I will make sure it is clear as day to you so you can interpret what's happening in the news cycle. I love you all. Until next time, Godspeed and God bless. Justus Knight, signing out.